Hotshot Racing is basically Mario Kart with the visual style of Virtual Racer and without items. However, does that mean it's one of those Mario Kart clones? Well, no actually, I think it's rather good. If you're new around here, I've got a playlist you can watch right here, and as usual, there's no online multiplayer included here, as I'm too socially awkward to play with others online. So let's start off with the modes. There's Grand Prix, basically career, Single Race, basically arcade, Time Trial, and Raceshop. First off, let's start with the Grand Prix. Much like Mario Kart, there's a good selection of courses, 5 here, each with a number of stages, 4 per course here. I do like how each stage feels unique, has its own theme, and doesn't seem to last more than 2.5 minutes. Again, akin to Mario Kart. It really helps replaying stages when they're interesting. The cars feel very arcadey to drive. All you need to know for the controls are throttle, brake, drift, and boost. Hence, the learning curve is very low. Perfect for a party game. Yes, you can play Grand Prix multiplayer, but I'll mention that later. There's 3 difficulty levels for each course: normal, hard, and expert. I'll refrain from making a channel joke here. They're basically the same to 100, 150, and 200cc for reference. Out of the 3, I'd recommend that you start off with hard mode, as normal is too easy in my opinion. Although that leads on to one of my favourite parts of this game, the balancing, because each player / NPC has a boost bar that they can fill up by drifting or slipstreaming. Even if you're in 8th place, as long as you have a full boost bar, you should be able to catch right back up to first, assuming you play perfectly of course. I really like how this keeps the gameplay tense without the need for items. One catch to this, however, is that if you spend the majority of the match building up your boost bar, as long as you're close enough to first, on the last 10 seconds or so of the map, you can use the boost and beat the AI practically every time. I don't think this is an issue in multiplayer, as I'd imagine players have a lot more things up their sleeves, but maybe a 1 or 2 second timer between boosts would help here a bit, as I use this almost every time to win. Next there's the single race mode. This is pretty similar to Grand Prix, except you guessed it, only one race at a time. You get to choose the course, track, difficulty, etc. Handy for when you can't get past that one level. But here's the interesting bit. There's also different game types here as well. We'll start with my favourite one, cops and robbers. In this mode you play as either the cops, where you have to ram the robbers until you destroy their car and subsequently convert them into cops, or vice versa, where you have to avoid the cops as long as possible, or after you've done however many laps were decided on. I've yet to play this mode with others, but I'd imagine this would be the favourite, as it adds more than just racing to keep the gameplay interesting. Also, you can choose any map to play this mode on. Then there's Drive or Explode, which is basically elimination. You have to drive at a certain speed, e.g. 100 miles an hour, or otherwise you'll spontaneously combust. Finally, there's Barrel Barrage, which is the standard racing experience, except you can place exploding oil barrels to damage opponents behind you, in true American style. This is probably my least liked mode, as the barrels can only be placed behind you. With how fast paced this game is, it's almost impossible to predictably land a hit, but you can easily not play if you're like me. Last but not least, there's the time trial mode. If you want to feel really bad compared to what I can only expect to be an AI with unparalleled skill on the leaderboard, then here's the mode for you. You can play any stage to get the fastest time possible. To be fair, once I got into a groove, it was quite hard to pull myself away from shaving off those milliseconds. Now we're done with the gameplay, let's talk about the characters and cars. The characters are basic but unique, even if they're stereotypes. Each character also has 4 unique cars, each with unique specialities. There's an all-rounder, acceleration, speed, and drift car depending on what track you're driving on. I do like how this adds an interesting strategy element as to which car would be best suited for each stage. The only thing I would like to see is an indicator on the tracks, in Grand Prix, as to what car would be best for it. For example, course 5 level 1 has a lot of corners, so a drift car would be most appropriate. Finally, we'll talk about Raceshop, also known as cosmetics. You have a plethora of options for each car, from bonnet to trunk to roof, etc., that you can change with all the money you earn. You can also buy 3 different outfits for each character. Fortunately, there's no microtransactions, so all of the money is earned via gameplay, at least of recording. Overall, it's still a relatively new game, as it only released last year, hence there's still time for things to change. I do have a few gripes though. Like in Grand Prix, if you want to restart one stage, you have to restart the whole course, and sometimes the AI will just ram into you, causing you to lose the entire course. But I feel like this game is easy enough, even on expert difficulty, that you can make back that progress relatively easily. If you can grab the game for £8, about $12 or less, then I'd say it's worth it as a Mario Kart / kart racer alternative. But any more than that, and the simplicity along with the relative lack of content will start to show. If you like the video, go play Jenga for some reason, and what's your best or worst part of this game? Please share in the comments. My best is Grand Prix. See you.